Well, I had no intentions of making a garden video just yet, but then my trug collapsed. So here we are faced with this mess, and I'm pretty upset. This is the second time my trug has collapsed like this. They do last for a year or two, but then rot sets in and they're a bit wobbly to begin with. There's no screws or nails or any kind of structure other than a slat and groove system, which is great in theory, but weather happens, wind happens, bugs happen, and the integrity of the structure does degrade relatively rapidly, even though they're 100% cedar. So when something like this happens, I need to act immediately. A, I don't want to lose any of the plants that are in my trug, and B, I just want to get the mess cleaned up as quick as possible. What makes this particular collapse extra frustrating is that last year I put hot papaya echinacea in there and they grew but they didn't bloom, and I was thinking it's because it was their first year, so this was the second year they were coming back. I was really excited to actually see the blooms because they're beautiful, the bees love them, and you know, who doesn't love their flowers when they bloom? But now that I've transplanted them yet again, I have a feeling they're not gonna flower. So mildly disappointing. The other thing that is kind of crucial to this particular collapse is I had no place to put the plants that were kind of frozen and suspended in this crumbling soil. So I ended up filling my raised bed with my oregano, with the astragalus transplant, with the hot papaya echinacea, and now I have very little growing room for my vegetables this year. And I mean, I didn't anticipate on growing a lot of vegetables in that one bed. I was gonna make more beds and try to figure out where I can parcel out some additional space in my yard because it is incredibly limited. But it was at least gonna be a start. I was gonna get some pepper plants, some tomato plants, and probably some peas or green beans growing up that trellis. And now I do have some space for the trellis, but everything else is kind of consumed with what came out of the trug earlier today. So here's a little bit of a segue. I'm gonna try to have a silver lining to this experience. I started this channel back in November of last year. I am thoroughly enjoying the process. However, I'm exclusively thus far posting sewing projects, and there's just so much more to me than sewing projects, and I want to share all of it. I have too many interests. I'm kind of a jack of all trade, master of none, and I've just always had lots of hobbies and things that occupy me, and so far, for whatever reason, the only thing I'm reflecting in this channel are the sewing projects, which, don't get me wrong, I love them, but it's time to branch out, and when spring comes, I really love to get into the garden. I almost abandon a lot of my other pursuits and just start focusing on the flowers and the fruits and the vegetables. I have been working on establishing a perennial garden in this small yard for the last 10 years. I would say so far I am pretty unsuccessful. The suburb that I live in is almost exclusively wooded, and any tree that I've cut down in my yard, it's because it was rotted and unhealthy. Otherwise, I would keep the trees. The trees do block the sun though, and they also take up valuable space in the soil where their roots are. And a lot of times I go to dig and put in a tree of my own, but I'll find another dead tree's roots there. There was probably about 20 trees in this yard when I moved into the house, and I would say we had to cut down 6 of them right out of the gates because they were rotting, falling, etc. The houses are so compact. Everybody lives on top of one another, and I have had 2 tree disasters so far in the last decade living in this home. One of my trees fell and smashed my neighbor's car, which was really uncomfortable to deal with. And then another tree fell and smashed my shed, which I no longer have and have not been able to replace since it was smashed, and also smashed my neighbor's fence. So, you know, we have to really be on top of tree health. As I've been able to, I have been trying to be incredibly mindful on how I use my space. I am trying to buy dwarf varieties of fruit trees and nut trees, and I am trying to predominantly have perennial bushes. I am super into perennials. Every once in a while, I will plant annuals, but most often I gravitate towards perennials and also things that bees and butterflies love. So what I was gonna do actually was have a gardening video soon because I'm getting bees next week. I am gonna be a beekeeper for the first time. This has been something on my bucket list for as long as I can remember. I am so excited. I'm also very scared, but hey, you know, I just need to face my fears head on. I am competent, I know I can do this, and my process is pretty much learn as I go. I've definitely watched YouTube videos and read lots of books, but you know, hands-on experience is different than kind of passive education. So when it comes to live creatures with stinging butts, I'm a little concerned, but we're gonna see how it goes, and I'm definitely gonna post and document everything, and hopefully you'll be interested. I think it's gonna be a really neat experience, and I'm very excited. And I've been slowly building my yard with various perennials that bees love. The other thing that's really challenging about my particular location, we have voles, moles, squirrels, mice, chipmunks, groundhogs, you name it, every kind of, oh, rabbits. We actually own lots of rabbits. I think we have about 25 rabbits right now, but we have lots of wild rabbits that live in the yard as well. Honestly, the rodents that live in the yard eat what we grow more than we do, and I say that we have the healthiest rodents around. And I think almost like I should be hunting the rodents and eating them, so somehow I get to ingest what I'm growing because they eat it first. Keeping the creatures out of the yard has been a virtually impossible task. I try to do everything naturally. I hate chemicals. I'm actually scared of chemicals, and we have well water. So, you know, anything we dump into our yard is literally just going into our water and our drinking supply. I do my best to keep my yard as organic as possible, understanding that I live so close to other people and that their personalities and their choices are gonna leach into my life, unfortunately. My dream would be to have several acres and live far away from humans, close enough where I still have access to modern conveniences, but far enough away that it would be a long jog to get to my first neighbor. But you know, that's just not how my life is turning out, and I'm gonna make the best of what I can and have the most comparable homestead experience I can here, because it's been my passion since I was a little child. I have always been in tune with nature. I want to live with the rhythms of nature, but I'm also a mother and a wife, and I have to make plenty of compromises. No one else in the family wants to live on a homestead the way I do. So it's just been challenging to kind of navigate my dreams and ambitions with their dreams and goals. And like I said, I'm doing the best I can to kind of recreate the experience that I feel I need on genuinely a spiritual and fulfilling level, with also respecting what they need and want and what's important to them. So I feel like I'm doing pretty well with maintaining what I can on this land. You know, if I worked less, I could dedicate more time to it. If I could dedicate more time to it, I could get a bit more serious, and then I really do think I could start producing food that we could actually eat. But for now, it's just kind of a hobby and a bit of a passion that I'm putting on hold. And again, planting a perennial landscape does make it easy to kind of neglect, if you will, the plants that you've put in once they're established. They just kind of start taking care of themselves. So as the year goes on, as spring kicks into full swing, I do want to have more gardening videos, and I'm just really excited to share other sides of myself with everybody. And I'm kind of trying to curate my entire life, from the clothing that I wear to the food that I eat to how I prepare the food that I eat to the blankets on my bed. And you know, it's just putting together all of these small pieces is so time consuming. The lack of progress I find personally frustrating, but patience is a virtue. It's just not a virtue that I have, and I'm forced to be patient. I'm trying to trust the process. I'm trying to understand the journey is the destination, but These types of coffee cup sayings they're beautiful in their sentiment, but they're challenging for me to really take on board and honor. So I'm doing my best with that. In the meantime, if there's anything in particular that you would like to see, let me know. Like I said, my hobbies and interests are vast. My time and capabilities are more limited. I love sharing the process and I love hearing the feedback, and I definitely love the encouragement. It keeps me going and it helps give me motivation to set goals, accomplish goals, and then also it helps me step back and actually look at my progress, which is something that I usually fail to do. It's a bit of a personality flaw that I'm working on, and I find that documenting everything is really helpful to give me the perspective that I lack. So I know this is kind of an unusual video. I know it's different than everything I've posted, and it's the first time I've done a video like this, and I don't really have the feel for it yet. So I appreciate you hanging around, and if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. I'm always looking to improve my content and just create things that are special and that resonate with everybody, not just myself. Please post comments below. I promise to respond. And if you like the channel, if you like the video, if you could subscribe, it really means the world to me. I would love to focus on these types of things to a greater degree, and your support is absolutely crucial for that. So until next time, see you. Bye.